Alright guys, welcome back to Frog Boy X1 Gaming and Tech Reviews. So, I bought this 4090. And, essentially I was like, at first, kind of just downplaying it and stuff like that. At first, I was just kind of joking around too. I mean, like Jensen came out and said a 5070 is essentially a 4090, if you use the AI and stuff. And, I started falling for that because I am kind of addicted to frame generation now. I really like the smoothness that it gives me while I'm playing my games. You guys know I play a lot of single player games. Don't really play games on a mouse and keyboard. So frame generation is a valuable tool for me. I use it and I like it. And it definitely is better this generation than last generation. And so I started downplaying the 4090. Because technically, if I'm on my 5070 Ti and I use all the features and I turn on MFG 4X, I do get a higher frame rate. Okay, even at 4K, I do get a higher frame rate. And so it's just as easy to downplay the new features of the 50 series cards as it is to downplay the 4090. But there's things that you just can't downplay on the 4090. The raw power that this card has is incredible. Like, yeah, I get a higher frame rate using a 5070 Ti. I mean, that's true. We've seen other content creators show you that. But my gosh, it feels significantly more robust when playing these games. Like most of the cards I got tap out at 16 gigabytes. And so you do run into some games, especially at 4K, that you kind of have to adjust the settings a little bit. You got to turn down the settings so that you have a good enough VRAM buffer so that you're not getting wild, frame time spikes and stuff like that. And so when I got home today, I sat here and I played through some games that were not, let's just say, not the best experience. I mean, they were playable, but they weren't like the best experience, like Avatar. Okay, Avatar has struggled on every single game that I have, or every card that I've had. Even the 9070, the 5070 Ti, the 4080 Super, the 7900 XTX, the 7900 XT, the 7800 XT, all of them. Okay, 9060 XT, it's playable, but it's not playable like it is on a 4090. On a 4090, without frame generation, hitting 100 frames a second, fully maxed out, with DLSS balanced, I'm playing this game, and I'm just walking and just taking in the scenery, and looking at this, and I'm like, gosh damn, this game has never been more beautiful than it looks right now. It's stable. There's not a lot of wild frame time spikes or anything like that. I'm like, my gosh. And so I turn off that game and I jump on Star Wars Outlaws. Okay, Star Wars Outlaws is a beautiful game. And I like it. I like the characters. I like that game. I was saying the game was cool before all the other people that are coming out of the woodwork now and saying it's a good game. I mean, it's not perfect. It's not going to win Game of the Year or anything. It's not the best Star Wars product we've ever had, but it was cool. It was fun. I really enjoy that game, and I enjoy getting in and being in that world. So I start looking at this one. Okay, I turn off the Nvidia RTX. Okay, because I don't normally use that on any of the other cards either. And so I turn that off and I crank up all the other settings and I sit there. And I'm playing around with it. It has DLSS 4 as well. And so I get in there and I'm sitting there just looking at it, walking really slow, taking in the sights, looking at everything, looking at things more closely than I normally do. When I'm sitting in there playing these games, because let's face it, most of the time when I'm in these games, I am already at a fairly compromised experience, because this game, with all the settings, runs at 24 frames a second, okay, on the 4090. So, I mean, one could only imagine how it runs on the other GPUs when you try to run it at native resolution and stuff. And so you turn on the features. You got your DLSS to give you, to restore your image quality, which is nice. I love DLSS 4. I think it is absolutely incredible what Nvidia was able to manage to get that up and running and making it look better. Absolutely incredible. Full 100% props to Nvidia. And so I'm in here and I'm walking around and I'm just walking slow and I'm looking and I'm seeing like this world, okay? Because at the end of the day, that is what matters the most. And I'm looking at all the cool stuff that they paid really close attention to. You got the wind, blowing dust and little dust balls across the road and stuff. And you're just looking at it with this like really highly fine detail on a 4K display. And it just looks incredible. I mean, the sun, like the sun in the game right now was like a really awesome spot. So you just get like these really different contrasted areas and stuff. Like the really bright spot with some shadowing and stuff like that. And you look over and you just start glancing at all the different particles and different, textures and tessellation and ray tracing and all of this stuff. And I'm just looking at this game and I'm just like, gosh damn, this is beautiful. And it feels incredible. And so I look at that, and so I was like, you know what, man, I really want to look at Assassin's Creed Shadows. I want to max it out, just take a nice slow stroll and look at it and just take in the atmosphere and the environment and stuff. And I'm looking at this game and it looks just pixel perfect, using DLSS quality or something. I think I was using DLSS quality and frame generation. Like, I'm still using frame generation on the 4090. I mean, why wouldn't I? It's there, it's a tool, and it's got enough power to like really push that 2x on this card, and it feels good. I remember I would try it on like the 4080 Super and stuff, and it would just kind of give me that micro stutter, but I'm not seeing that on the 4090. It's just smooth, and it looks good, and it feels good. I've got good latency on my controller for the games and stuff, and so I'm just walking, and I'm like really taking in these visuals, and I'm just blown away. Like I'm absolutely just blown away at how freaking beautiful this atmosphere is. The game, the wind, the rain, the leaves blowing across the ground, the wind, looking at just the beautiful different colors for autumn, for the autumn season or whatever. And that's one of the things I love about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Just having seasons in that game, and having two really cool characters to play as, either Yasuke or Naoe. And I'm just walking, man, and I'm just looking at this game and like taking in the sights and just feeling this game. And the frame rate is just so consistent and it's strong. And you can feel, it's almost like you can feel that you actually have power. Like you have power to back up the experience that you're trying to play. And so when I think about that, I mean, like it's compromised on 9070 XT, it's compromised on 5070 Ti. You're upscaling, and using frame generation at about, if you're wanting to use it at ultra settings, you're about 100 frames a second ish. After using frame generation, but with the 5070 Ti, yeah, I get higher frames, but I get like this warbling with MFG 4X. I got to turn it to 3X. With AMD, it looks fine, but I mean, obviously, it's got its little quirks on the AMD experience as well. Like it just didn't feel as robust as it does on a 4090. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why the hell have you been trying to downplay this card? You know, I mean, like I put it in there and I play all these games, you know, and they're just incredible. So I was like, you know what? I really want to see Black Myth Wukong in its like entirety, cinematic, full ray tracing, everything. You know, obviously using frame generation and DLSS. You know, because you're not getting out of that. You're not getting out of that. You're going to have to use that. I mean, the 4090 is an awesome card, but you're still going to use the feature set for this GPU. And so I get into Black Myth Wukong, and I'm just looking at this game. At first, I was looking at it before even turning on like the frame gen and all of that stuff. And, you know, I'm getting, you know, 40, so I don't know. I don't remember exactly what frames I was getting, but it was low enough to where I wouldn't want to play it. But, you know, I'm looking at this and I'm like, gosh damn. This has so much freaking detail in there when it's maxed out at cinematic. And I'm just looking at it. I'm looking at these leaves. I'm looking at the lighting quality, the reflection quality, and I'm just in this world, just looking at it, taking it all in. And I'm like, gosh damn, this is like an incredible experience to have a card that can push these games, that can actually push them and then have the resources to maintain that at the same time and give you a consistent, you know, pretty consistent experience across the board. And so when I sit here and I look at that experience, you know, the 4090 is giving me, it really is no doubt the best card I own, period. Like, end of subject. Like, it is the best card that I own. And so I'm not going to be trying to downplay it anymore. I've already gotten past that, and there's really no reason to downplay it. Okay, people that can afford the card, they're gonna buy the card. Do I think it's a dumb idea to buy a 4090? Yeah, I feel like video games should be more than just max brute force power and like pretty visuals and stuff. I like my games to be a little bit more robust. I do. I don't mind playing something a little bit softer, or, you know, having to use some of the features to get a playable experience on a new game. Like, most of the time that doesn't bother me, but when I tried Wu Chang Fallen Feathers the other day, like, that game legit made me mad. I get in there and it's just a stuttering mess, and then when I get over to the cliff and I start turning the camera and everything's just blinking in and out, I was like, no, I'm not giving them the money for this game, okay? Even Mind's Eye was running better than that. I mean, I could at least get 100 plus frames on Mind's Eye, so I was like, no, we're not doing that. we're not doing Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, so I'm sorry. I like Souls games, I play them every once in a while, but I'm not like a super sweat or anything in those games. I do like to play them. I do like to challenge myself every once in a while, so I do. I pick some of them up and I play them. Right now I'm working on a couple of them. But DLSS 4 combined with the 4090, that, my friends, is incredible. Freaking incredible. Like, I mean, when I first turned it on, you know, when I first plugged it in, you know, yesterday, and I was sitting there and I was, you know, doing the video and looking at like Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk is Cyberpunk, okay? Like, I've been playing that game now for 5 freaking years, and the visuals on that game every once in a while will still wow me, but I'm to the point now where I'm like, okay, like this is getting old. This is getting old. I want to see something new. And, you know, so Cyberpunk, you know, that's probably like the worst first game for me to look at on a new GPU. So I'm going to stop doing that. You know, so I think my new game to like my go-to is going to be like Star Wars Outlaws or Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like, those games look absolutely beautiful. They're big, beautiful, open world. So it's like, I want to see those games. I want to see more of that. Like, I'm tired of Night City, man. Like, I've seen so much of Night City that yeah, dude, I've probably got like 60 hours, just on the PC, and then however many I got on Xbox and PlayStation, and now Switch. It's just, I've seen a lot of Cyberpunk. So Cyberpunk is really not the best game for me to keep looking at, because it is kind of underwhelming when I get into that game. And obviously, like, path tracing and all of that stuff is really going to knock your frame rate down and stuff like that, because let's just face it, man. Any of these games that I'm trying to play natively with path tracing and ray tracing and all of that, you're getting like 25 frames. Like, it is pretty heavy. It is a really heavy technology. But I guess now that I have this new level of thinking about high-end cards, because this is the second fastest card on the market right now, the 4090. And when I look at that and I think about that, I'm like, okay, like, I'm almost to the top. Like, I'm almost to the top. In just 3.5 years, almost 4 years of PC gaming, I've literally worked from like a 60 class up to a 90 class. Again, like, 7900 XTX was a 90 class. The 4090 is definitely more robust than that. It is. I know there's some games that would feel really, really close or whatever, but the 4090 is doing very good at being able to, like, yeah, like, this is pretty cool. So with my newfound mindset on like PC gaming in general, it's one of those things, guys, where PC gaming, okay, you should be able to have fun at any level with your PC, with your GPU. You should be able to get the right monitor, have enough power to run your games at that resolution. And then obviously, there should be some outliers where, like, okay, the entry level 8 gigabyte GPUs are not going to do everything, but they'll do a damn good job. And that is true. And in my testing, that has been the case. Playing at 1080p or turning down settings to play at 4K or 1440p or something like that, completely acceptable. Especially with most of these newer games, which the lowest settings really do look just as good as last generation games, just at the low settings. So when I think about that, and I'm looking at that, like, yeah, each one of these GPU levels is good enough for certain spots. So I would say, like, your 16 gigabyte cards, because I'm looking at this 4090, and I'm seeing games run at 18 gigs. And some of these games I tried playing on, like, the 5070 Ti and the 9060 XT or 9070 XT. And, obviously having 16 gigs, I'm like, yeah, this should easily work. But you get to a point where it's like, once you actually see these games running at their absolute best, it really is hard to like try to it's hard to explain the feeling that it gives you. I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie, I was sitting in Assassin's Creed and I was, like, really starting to feel proud of that 4090. Like, oh my gosh, dude, I can't believe I got a 4090. I was like, man, I'm gonna go get me an Nvidia hat. And I'm just joking. But I was starting to have that little proud, like, moment of, like, oh my gosh, this is freaking awesome. And yeah, dude, that it is hard, man. Like, I get, I get some of the argument, a little bit more now from some of the other creators. This is the way I want to think about the other creators from now on. I want to believe that they know what it feels like to have the best. And so they just advocate for you to have the best in your segment class of what you can afford. And so when they're out there going against the 8 gigabytes, I'm not going to disagree with them. 8 gigabytes is long in the tooth. It is long in the tooth, but you can still have a fun experience on that. So I'm not going to be dishonest about it and just bash the 8 gigabyte cards just to bash them. I was able to find a compromise that gave me an experience that I could enjoy playing games on those GPUs. So that's the way that I will, cover those. And I got that 4060 Ti now, 8 gigabytes, so I can, make some content on that. And I don't necessarily think that 8 gigabytes, I don't think that the 8 gigabytes of the GPU is the problem. I think the problem is more a combination of, you know, low-end hardware versus developers wanting to be able to build for enough platforms to where they can still sell the game and still make some money. Because in PC, if you start a game on an 8 gigabyte GPU, okay, and you buy it on Steam and you got a digital license, you go back a couple years later when you've upgraded to a better card, and guess what? Your game gets a full-on upgrade. And then maybe you're like, maybe I want to play this again. And so I look at it that way. It doesn't necessarily matter where you start in PC gaming, as long as you find enough games to sink their hooks into you to keep you in PC gaming. That's what really matters. Is as long as you can get a good enough experience on most of the games that you play, I don't necessarily think that starting on an 8 gigabyte GPU is bad. And I definitely don't think buying a pre-built is bad. That pre-built right there is absolutely incredible. I love it. 4090 fit right in there. I was like, damn, that is so badass. I was like, man, I was starting to worry about, oh gosh, because I was looking at the card and I had it in my hands and I'm like, dude, I'm going to have to buy a new case. But then I came home and it fit right in and I was like, gosh dang, and I still got plenty of room in between my fans and stuff. I'm happy about that. And so I do think that you can, I still think, even after a 4090, okay, playing this and seeing everything just completely maxed out and just seeing how clean and how smooth and just, it is a robust experience, guys. It is a premium experience, okay? And I don't level that thing on many products. Like, this is a premium experience, okay? LG OLED, premium experience. This is a premium experience. Like, I do feel like the 4090 is a premium experience. I like the way that this card is displaying and, you know, displaying my games, how my games feel on it. It really is reassuring to feel like, okay, cool, I got a good GPU. And I felt that exact same way about the 7900 XTX. I felt like, yeah, this card is awesome. And then this generation, okay, I wanted to get back to this point, okay? So this generation, you know, I'm done downplaying the 4090, but I want you guys to do the same for the 50 series and the RDNA 4 cards. MFG4X is a tool, okay? It's not performance, but it is experience. It does enhance the experience that you're having on your games and allows you to push past things that normally would not be able to push past on these level of cards. Okay, MFG is a very important tool for right now, and I get the argument about like, oh man, developers are just going to start using it, blah blah blah. I get what you're saying, okay, but then I also think, well, see, that's me being selfish. That's me being selfish because I'm like, I just play single player games anyways, you know, or something like that. So, but I haven't really seen any of the esports games that have went out of their way to like force these technologies in there. They're usually pretty optimized. So I think that the compromise that we should all be thinking about maybe is, okay, maybe our single player games, because we want that ray tracing, we want the visuals, we want this, we want extra textures, we want like the whole cake and we want to eat it too. I feel like if they can work these technologies in there and make them games very pleasant to play, because that's, as long as it's pleasant, I don't think we should have a problem with it at the end of the day. I'm more interested in coming home, kicking my feet up, playing my games, and having fun. And so if they can deliver that with utilizing these features, because MFG4X is actually pretty dang good. There's only a couple games that I've ran into where I'm like, ooh boy, I probably better use 3X. And then, you know, vice versa with AMD's RDNA 4. RDNA 4 is absolutely incredible. You know, I know everybody can't run out and buy a 4090. And I know everybody's not going to be able to find a deal like I did on the 4090, okay? Like I get that. I understand that. So when I recommend, you know, like cards like the 5060 Ti and the 9060 XT, These are cards that run 3440 by 1440p at an acceptable experience for me on a controller. And I feel like, wow, that is good. I like the way that feels. I'm feeling good. The image quality looks incredible. It's really nice. And you've got 16 gigs of VRAM to give you that buffer for all your visuals and textures and stuff. You can usually run those pretty dang good, and they are pretty stable. When you start trying to get into 4K though, you know, even like with the 9070 XT and the 5070 Ti, 16 gigabyte, these GPUs can push into 4K, and they do it pretty good. They do it pretty convincingly. I personally have found myself having a better experience at 4K with those two cards than I was on the previous generation with like the 7900 XTX and the 4080 Super. Now, 7900 XTX and 4080 Super, in all fairness, I wasn't trying to fully utilize the features, okay? I kind of wish that I could go back to the 7900 XTX and fully utilize, you know, like FSR and frame generation more, and like really taking that 4K experience, especially now that I've got a lot more new games to test on it. I would love that, to be completely honest with you, but I'm at a point where like I can't buy any more GPUs right now, at least for a little while, like seriously, probably throughout the end of the year. And you know, I just feel like you guys should probably not be so negative toward MFG4X and like frame generation and stuff like that. Obviously, upscaling is at a point now where like we watched it grow from like the 20 series all the way up, and now it's like really, really good. And it's like, look, let's just give frame generation a chance. Okay, that's all I'm saying, is at least give it a chance, because it really has enhanced my experience. It's made it better. But I mean, like we're talking about like the experience without it is I would much rather have it than not have it at all. And that's where I'm at. Like when I started this generation and I started playing these games with MFG4X and playing it with, you know, frame generation and stuff on FSR4 on the AMD side, I felt my experience being significantly smoother than it has been the whole time I've been on PC gaming. Okay, like it's just been better. So I'm like, okay, I really like this. I really like this, and I really appreciate it. So yeah, guys, 4090 is awesome. I think it's an incredible card. I'm actually grateful that I picked it up, and I'm actually grateful that I found the opportunity to be able to get this for the channel and utilize this, because it really has kind of opened up my eyes a lot, and I really at the end of the day just want to help people find the best for them. And like, look, I still don't think that going out and buying one of these brand new is for everybody. Yeah, I mean, if you can afford it, cool, awesome. I do think that you can find enjoyment on the other cards. I really do. I just don't know if I have to play with it a little more and get some more experience with it to fully understand and fully utilize, and see if this is something that's worth investing that much money in. Because the way I look at it is, if I'm going to upgrade every generation, every 2 years, like it has to make sense. You know, going from like a 4090 to a 5090, 5090 to 6090. Once you get into a certain class, you kind of want to stay there. You don't want to go down. You don't want to downgrade. You want to just keep moving forward. And that's probably the biggest reason why I feel like the 90 class is not for everybody. I feel like maybe you should, like, I don't know. I'm done counting your pockets, bro. 4090 is awesome. If you can get one, awesome, do it. If you can't, oh well, get what you can afford and learn to enjoy it. So, all right, my friends, if you guys like this content, do not forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. If you want to help out the channel or you want to support the channel, you can always find the Patreon link down in the bottom of the description, as well as you can join the membership here on YouTube, and I'd greatly appreciate it. So we'll see you guys later.